Good day, people of God. It's Erica Danielle. It's Monday, and I wanted to give you a word of encouragement, but just wanted to do things a little differently. So, not a quick Monday, let's focus on this for the week. I actually just wanted to come and give you guys a bit of my own personal story, my own testimony. Let me apologize in advance because I am a crier. So, if I get to crying, forgive me now because, the Most High has been so faithful to me and He's been so good to me, and it's hard for me to talk about it without, look, I'm already welling up. Anyway, so I wanted to share my testimony. I wanted to share my story because, God has me doing this ministry, right? Building this ministry. And although, everybody, all of us as believers are called to preach and teach the gospel, right? Sometimes we do it, ministry is done in multiple ways, in many different ways. Now, for me, I'm more of a one-on-one kind of person. If you get me in a conversation one-on-one, I can talk to you about God and the Most High for hours, talking about just life and life experiences and encourage you and all of that. Doing this on this level, as far as publicly, is a lot more harder for me, but it is something that the Most High has led me to do. And just because of everything that I've been through with God, there's no way that I could tell Him no. Regardless of my own personal insecurities, regardless of how I view myself on thinking, who am I to get on Instagram or YouTube and get out there and try to push and encourage people to trust God. Like, I'm still walking this thing out myself. But what I can say is over the last 7 years, probably going on 8 years now, this journey and my walk with the Most High has been so, I don't even know how to describe it. In all honesty, I don't know the right words to use, because my encounter with the Most High has changed my life, legitimately. I grew up in the church. My father is a minister. He hasn't always been a minister. He has his own testimony. He hasn't always been a minister, but he has always had us in church. But let me say this. Growing up in church and seeing God from a distance is just the same as knowing of somebody. Like, you might have a friend who has a friend and you're like, oh yeah, I know that person, they're cool, but you don't really know that person, you just know of them. It's the same thing. You can grow up in church all your life, you can be in and out of church all your life, until you have your own personal encounter with the Most High. You don't, and I'm please hear my heart, you don't truly know Him. You really don't. You know of Him. You know what He can do. But it's completely different when He reveals Himself to you and you have that encounter with Him, and He shows you exactly who He is. And He takes you on a journey of learning of Him. He takes you on a journey of trusting Him, learning how to walk in His ways, learning how to listen to Him, to hear His voice, for starters, learning how to sit in His presence. How do you even get into His presence? How do you open your word? Because people say, study the Bible. But if you're anything like how I was, I asked for years, how do you study the Bible? How do you study the Bible? How do you do these things? How do you draw closer to Him? How do you get to this space? And that's what I'm saying. When you get that encounter with Him, when you get And I'm not saying everybody's encounter, I'm going to get to my testimony in a minute. I'm not saying that everybody's encounter has to come by way of some type of pain or, you know, heartache or trauma or anything like that. Everybody doesn't have that testimony. That's my testimony. I've been in church and I've known of God all my life. When back in 2013, okay, first before I get into that, let me give you a what is it? A preface. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Okay. I'm 34 years old now. I'll be 35 at the end of this month. From the time I was 19, I'll say, 19, 20, I started partying. And I mean, that was my life. I was young, I was single, I was working. I wasn't like a complete bum or nothing like that. But I partied. That's what me and my homegirls did. We was clubbing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes on a Sunday night. Like, we partied. And we weren't out of control to the sense where like we were doing drugs or nothing like that. It wasn't anything like that. But we did party a lot, and I did not keep the best of company. My oldest sister to this day always talks about the type of people that I used to hang around, the type of places I used to be. I'm from California. I'm from Long Beach. I grew up in Long Beach and Compton, and I hung with street people. Like, I hung with street people, and I ran the streets. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I legitimately did. But I remember when God started trying to get my attention. I remember when he started calling me. I remember when he started telling me there was something that he had for me to do. And I remember being in that place and being very, very scared. And I remember having a conversation with my sister because I was saying, I don't know why I'm fearful of what it is that God wants me to do, when I was never fearful to do everything that I wanted to do. When we was going to Athens Park and hanging out, when we was at Lord knows where, hanging out and partying, I was never fearful because I always knew that God was going to keep me. I always knew that nothing serious was going to happen to me. And by the grace of the Most High, nothing ever did happen to me in that fashion, as far as getting hurt or anything like that. And like I said, my hanging out and the people that I roll with and stuff, it's by the grace of God that nothing did ever happen to me. That I never got anything shot, killed, anything. You know what I mean? And I was never fearful about that. I used to pray before I went out. Like I said, I grew up in the church. I knew how to pray. And I believed at that time that God was hearing my prayers. And I believed at that time that I was going to make it home at night. And I did. So I didn't understand why I was fearful about what he was talking to me about or what he was calling me to do now. And basically, he was calling me out. He was calling me out like, it's time to come out. There's something that I want you to do. Now, this was already starting to happen. And then I wasn't listening. I wasn't being obedient. Like, I knew it. I was fearful. I didn't know why. But I was still teetering the line, I guess. Like, I started calming down a little bit. I wasn't hanging out as much. I wasn't partying as much, but I wasn't right. I wasn't living right at all. And then in 2013, because I'm going to try to make this short, but I could, I have a tendency just to talk sometimes. In 2013, I met my son's, in 2012, I met my son's father. And he was no different than the rest of the guys that I have ever hung around or ever dated or anything like that. He was a street guy. And he was not a believer, which I think is kind of significant. And back then it should have been significant to me. Because like I said, I knew about being equally yoked and all of that. Like, I grew up in the church. I guess the importance of all of that was just not there for me, just being honest. So fast forward, me and him dated. We lived together for a little while, and then I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, we were broken up at the time, but when I got pregnant, it was just like, I don't know, just everything just hit the fan. Life got very real for me real quick. My son's father made it very clear he did not want a child, and that he was not going to be there. And at that time, I was just like, because I got up here tough. You're just not going to say whatever you want to me, and I'm about to break down and fold. Even on the inside, I was completely folding. I didn't know what in the world I was about to do. I didn't grow up like that. I grew up with my father in my life. My sisters who were married, they were married and had children and stuff. It was just like, what in the world am I about to do? But I told him, like, all right, well, God is going to take care of us and whatever, like, get on. I mean, not get on, but do whatever you feel like you need to do. And so when I was going through my pregnancy, it was the hardest time of my life. I remember feeling very, I don't know, it was very bleak. It was very dark. It was very, it was bleak. I was depressed, trying not to be depressed because while you're pregnant, people are telling you like, oh, your baby can feel every emotion and you don't want your child born this kind of way. So, trying to juggle all of that. But really on the inside, I was depressed. I was abandoned, completely just broken. Completely just broken. I just used to lay in the bed. And then, oh my gosh. Then when I was about 6 months, I started to lose my eyesight. Oh my gosh. So it was like, you want to talk about not only having spiritual blindness, but having natural blindness. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, it's really almost like a natural representation of what seemed like was going on in the spirit for me. It was dark. It was dark, and I was lonely, and I was depressed, and I was very, very sad. I just could not see a way out of what I was feeling at that time. I know there are plenty of women who have gone before me, who have carried out the responsibility of being an amazing mother by themselves. I know that. I know women do it every day. Just never thought I would be the woman that had to do that. That was never anything that I wanted for myself. In all honesty, it was just never something that I thought I would have to experience and go through. But on the flip side is, I wasn't doing anything to make sure that did not happen, if that makes sense, because I think there is a need for responsibility. When I say that, I wasn't on birth control. I wasn't, obviously we weren't using condoms. So I wasn't doing anything to make sure that didn't come in my life. I just never thought that would be my testimony. So anyway, I was just in a really, really bad place. I was in a really, really bad place. I would be closed up in my room all day in bed, just depressed, completely depressed. I didn't have anyone to talk to. Like I said, my sisters didn't go through this. All of my sisters had children before I did, but they were married. My friends and my closest friends at the time were not going through this. Like my best friend wasn't going through this. I just felt very, very, very much alone and very, very depressed. It was a really, really bad time. It was very, very hard. And I just remember laying in the bed, losing my eyesight, crying out, talking to God, talking to God all the time. I remember telling him one time coming back from my sister's house, like, crying, drying, barely able, this was before I started to lose my sight, barely able to see the road, crying, just telling God, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to trust you throughout this whole process. I don't have nobody but you. I don't have nobody but you. And for the sake of time, I won't go into every detail, but I will say, what happened for me after that was the Most High was already, like I said, he was already calling me before I even met my son's father. He was already giving me words. He was already sending words to me. And looking back, I would say a lot of it were words of warning that I didn't pay attention to. I didn't see them for what they were. And maybe I didn't want to see them for what they were, just to be honest. I don't know. That's neither here nor there now. All I'm saying is, my point is, he was trying to get my attention. And I think that happens a lot of times with us, and that's why I talk about this. And I'm sorry. That's why I talk about this, because, I was a person who used to say all the time, God doesn't talk to me. He doesn't talk to me. And my dad used to tell me all the time, he does talk to you. You're not listening. Like, God speaks to us in so many different ways. There's so many different ways that he tries to get our attention, whether it be through a voice like me, meaning somebody you're just minding your business, scrolling on Instagram or something like that, and then you come across a video. You may come across a post. You may be on YouTube and see something. You may hear something on the radio. You may come across something that you're reading. The Most High is able to speak to us however he wants to. So don't believe the lie that he can't, that he only speaks in one kind of way, because he does not. And he's constantly trying to get our attention. And sometimes the way he gets our attention is through life circumstances. A lot of the times. And so a lot of the times, and I'm going on a tangent and I apologize, but a lot of the times we find ourselves in these different situations, and we're just like, how did I end up here? Or why is this happening to me? And sometimes it's not just about what we have done. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it's more so that God has allowed the situation to come into your life, or he has worked the situation to come into your life, because he wants you to get to a place where you are calling on him, where you are turning to him, when you are realizing that you are the only person that I have. That is the place that I was. There's nobody else that can help me in this. Nobody could fix the situation that I found myself in. Nobody can heal the hurt, was able to heal the hurting or the hurt, that the pain that I was going through. There was nothing that nobody could say to me that made me feel any better. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. There was nothing nobody can say. People can tell you all the time, like, oh, you'll get through this. You'll be okay. And it's like, okay, that's cool. And that sounds good. And it's the truth. You will get through it. But when you're going through something, those words of you will get through it, sometimes it's just not enough. And it's not that people don't love you, because they're trying. They're doing the most that they can. I was surrounded by people who loved me. People that would go to war for me. And I know that, but what could they do? What could they do to heal me? What could they do to make me not feel what I was feeling? Nothing. And sometimes the Most High allows us to get into situations to where, so we have an understanding, or we come into the realization that you are who I need. You're the only person who can get me through. You're the only person, like he created you. He has the plan for your life. And he has a plan that he's trying to get you through. So although sometimes situations happen, and I'm on a tangent, I'm so sorry. Sometimes situations happen in our lives and he will allow it. Because one thing we need to know for sure is that the Most High is sovereign. So whatever it is that you're going through in life, he had to have allowed it. He may not have wanted it for you. And he may have, like he did me, he may have been sending you warnings because he really didn't want you to go through the situation, but he allowed it. And now we have to look and find out, well, what did you allow it for? Because he's trying to make you draw closer to him. He's trying to get us to a place where we're leaning on him and understanding that he holds the power. He has the key to your life. So if I have to let you go through this, if I have to let your heart break, so you can come to me, so you can find out who I am, and in turn find out who you really are, then I'm just going to have to let that happen. That is my testimony. He had to let it happen. I need to do my hair. I'm sorry. He had to let it happen. Because it was in that, like I said, it was the most bleak and just dark time of my life. It was such a bad time. And when I think about it, I'm like, man, it always makes me cry because I remember how I felt. But when I tell you in comparison, now let's fast forward. And I won't go through the ins and outs, but I will say this. I told God that I was going to trust him. I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I am going to trust you. Along those lines, along the way, I still was losing my eyesight. I still was pregnant in my room by myself. I delivered my child with my mother, my sister, and my best friend. I remember looking at my child when he was a baby thinking, why did this have to happen to him? I remember just going through all these different ranges of emotion all the time and constantly asking God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I remember when I would come into the city, because I was still living in Long Beach at the time, and instantly feeling depressed. I could be away at work all day and be okay. I spent most of my time in the Word, most of my time listening to sermons and gospel all the time because that was the only thing that made me feel anything. So I listened to a lot of sermons on YouTube. This is what my days consisted of. I listened to a lot of sermons on YouTube. I listened to a lot of gospel and worship music all day. When I would be laying in the bed at night, I would just let my Bible play out loud like a Bible app. I would listen to the word. I clung to the Most High and his word with everything in me because I felt like that was the only thing sustaining me. It was the only thing keeping my sanity. It was the only thing keeping my mind, and it was. Because I was so depressed. I was so sad. Like I said, I would get off of work. I would drive. It was about a 20-minute drive. Well, I was riding in the car. And as soon as I got to Long Beach, it was like just boom. Like literally like the depression would just fall. Because I would have to get off the freeway, take the streets to my house. And I'm ripping in or going through the streets, and these are the same streets I used to rip and run with my son's father. Like, boom, different locations. Because when I tell you we were like right in close proximity with each other, it's only by the grace of God that I never ran into him. I wholeheartedly believe that was God's protection. Because I still haven't to this day. My son is about to be 7 in a couple months. Also to say, his father still is nowhere in sight, not in the picture at all whatsoever. But me and my son, I'm fast forward, I'm about to try to wrap this up. Me and my son have thugged out so much stuff together. I was saying that although I told the Most High I'm going to trust him and I'm going to, follow him, and I clung to him with everything in me, we started on this journey, and no, everything was not perfect. we've been through a lot. We have been through so much. And when I was going through these different little phases and obstacles in life, I never realized how bad it was when I was in it. My mom probably thought I was crazy because all I used to be like, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Because God told me, like, I had a promise from God. And that is literally what I stood on. Oh, no. Because God told me. And I know my mom probably thought I was insane. But it was either cling to the Most High, His word and His promise with everything in me to where it seemed like I was crazy, or stay in this place of nothingness, this place of darkness. I feel like those are my only choices. And I chose to cling to the Most High. I chose to trust Him. I chose to it's by His grace. He chose me to draw near to Him. And He filled me with His Spirit. He filled me with His love. He was the one that was giving me words. He was the one encouraging me to keep going, giving me, I call them like little nuggets when He just drops little things in your spirit, or when He sends you a word unexpectedly. And it's just those things that you hold on to keep on going, But He will do that because He understands that this walk is not easy. He understands that what He calls us to, it's hard. It's hard. And I'm only saying that in the sense of it's not hard as far as, the things that He's calling us to do and stuff. It's hard to walk out something. It's hard to trust and stand on the word of God when you are just in a place of bleakness. I don't even know if that's a real word. But when you're just in this place of nothing, I can only describe it as darkness because I don't know another word to describe the nothingness that I felt and that I saw. It was nothing. It was just so bleak. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And when you're in that place and God is just like, trust me, and He's calling out to you and He's trying to send words to you, and then He's giving you these words of encouragement, that is everything. That is life itself. And that is what I personally hung on. I hung on every single word that He said to me. That was all I had. That was all I had. And as time went on, like I said, no, it wasn't perfect. There were a lot of challenges even throughout the journey. But I did not realize how bad the situations were because I wasn't paying that much attention to the situations. I was more so thinking about the things that God was speaking to me. I was more so focused on when is the next time He's going to give me another word. I was so focused on just filling my spirit with His word. That is literally, this is my son. That is literally what kept me. And that is why the word tells us to think on Him and to think on the things that are good, think on the things that are pure, think on the things that are holy, because all hell can be breaking loose around you. And I promise you, and I say this because I experienced it, you won't even realize it to the degree of what it really is, because He will truly keep you in perfect peace. He will truly keep you in perfect peace. His word doesn't lie. And that's why I say that it's completely different to know of God than to have an actual encounter with God where you experience His word firsthand, when you experience Him and who He is and what He says in His word firsthand. There's nothing like it. And then now nobody can tell me that this word isn't true. There's nothing anybody can come to me and tell me about my God, because I know what I've experienced with Him. I know how He has kept my mind. I know how He has provided for me. When I tell you, me and my son hasn't gone without a day in his life. a day in his life, he has kept us. He has kept us. He has provided for us. When I tell you my child is so full of life, he's such a happy and joyful child. He has the sweetest spirit. And I'm not just saying that because I'm his mama. Because he's sarcastic, and you know, sometimes he be needing to get punched in the mouth because he got a smart mouth. This is all true too. But he's a sweet child. He's so loving. He prays, he talks to God. He will speak boldly to you about God and the truth of Yah. And I can only thank the Most High for that. I finally got to a place a couple years back where I stopped asking the Most High what's going to happen. It doesn't matter. He has proven himself to me thus far. I know that regardless of whatever happens, I know that he's with us. And I know that it is the best thing for us. I know that as long as I continue to walk in his ways, as long as I continue to do what it is that he is telling me to do, to stay obedient, I know that we're going to be good. And that's why it is so important for me to do it. First of all, I feel like I owe everything to him, because if it wasn't for God coming in and stepping in when I was in this place of darkness, I don't know where I would be. I don't know what type of mama I would be. I don't know. And I just thank the Most High because I didn't have to find out. And so I encourage you all to make your decision, make a choice. I promise you, you won't regret it. So when I get on here and I tell you to trust God, trust God, trust God, to turn to God, to pray, to speak to him, to call out to him, I'm not saying it just to make you feel good. I'm saying it because I know what it has done in my life. I know what it has yielded in my life. I know it is by the grace of the Most High that I have my sanity. I'm so at peace. I find myself, I'm a crier, I told y'all that. But I find myself crying all the time, just walking around my apartment, because I'm so grateful to him. I'm so grateful to where he has brought me to. I have so much peace in my spirit. I have so much peace in my mind. So unbothered, literally unbothered, because what can move me? What can move me when I know who my God is? You ain't seen nothing yet. You just get it. This is my song. Because God is faithful. He is so faithful, and he's not going to start you on a path that he's not going to bring you to completion. It is just up to you to continue to make the choice, continue to make the decision, continue to do your part. Like I said, my son is about to be 7 years old. And I was so scared of how I was going to raise him without his father. What I was going to do when he asked me about his dad. What was I going to do when these different things came up? Half of the things that I was worried about hasn't even happened. The things that I was most fearful about, I haven't even encountered with raising him. And I believe that is by the grace of God. He has, when I say I be joking, I be like, God has brought me a mighty long way. I'm joking when I'm saying it, like, because I'm trying to be funny. But I'm dead serious. And for those of you who know me, know. Y'all know. The Most High has brought me a long way, and I am forever grateful. I am forever grateful. And I will forever do whatever it is that he wants me to do, because that is the least I can do. But I also have the understanding that it encourages other people. And that is the point in this. That is a part of what we are all called to do. It doesn't matter what you're going through in your life. There is a God, there is a God, there is a one true living God, Yahuah, who could bring you to your appointed end. You have to make the decision. Do you want to get there? Do you want to know what you were created for? Do you want to know why you were placed on this earth? Do you want to step into your purpose and to fulfill purpose? What do you want? Or do you want to keep running your life the way you've been running it? And I can guarantee you, if you're running your life, Satan is running your life. Because that's just the truth. There's two players in this game. There's the Most High Yahuah and there's Satan. That's it. So you're either on the side of Yah, or by default, like my father says, you are on the side of Satan. And you can think like, no, I'm not. I'm doing me. You doing you is on the side of Satan. And I know that because I used to do me. So I'm not saying it to condemn you. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying it to bring truth. Don't be deceived. The word says that the whole world is deceived. That Satan has deceived the whole world. And he's talking about some other stuff. But what I'm saying is Satan is a deceiver. And part of the world being deceived is this thought process that, you're in charge of your own life, and, people get to where they are because of themselves, and all of that whole me thing. That's a lie from the pit of hell. If you are not submitted to God, trust me, you are submitted to Satan. You are not in charge of your own life. We live in a natural world governed by a spiritual world. And the spiritual realm has more authority than this realm here that we live in. The spiritual realm affects the realm that we live in. So if it's played out in your natural life, it's already played out in the spirit realm, okay? So if you're not submitted to Yahuah, to Yah, you are by default submitted to Satan. And so that's just something you need to ponder on, and you need to make a decision. He gives us different opportunities, and I don't know when you will see this. And I don't know if this is the first, second, third, or fourth time that you have come across a word like this. But what he's saying to you is, choose you now this day. Who will you serve? Who will you serve? You can continue to do life as is, and you're going to get every part of that. You're going to get the good and the bad. And don't get me wrong, you get the good and the bad when you're walking with the Most High too. But the difference is you're walking with the Most High. He's completely sovereign. He's in control of it all. So even in your bad seasons with God, they're better than your good seasons with, they're better than your bad seasons with Satan. Let me say that. Because I'm not going to lie, because sometimes when you're in that good, it seems like it's really, really good. But it's an illusion. It is an illusion. And at the end of the day, you also have to consider your soul. We are here for a quick moment in time. Where are you gonna spend? Where are you gonna spend eternity? Because what you do here is going to impact where you spend eternity. I don't even know how I got into that. I was supposed to just be giving my testimony, but that was my testimony. 7 years ago, I went through the hardest time of my life. And in the situation that I found myself in has not come to a resolve that how I would think. But I am in I was just telling my sisters this the other night. I am in the best place of my life, the best place I have been emotionally, spiritually, financially in the last 10 years. And I wouldn't have thought 7 years ago that I would be in this place, that I will have this much joy, that I will have this much peace. I have so much peace. Y'all has been so good to me. He has been so, sometimes I feel spoiled by him. He has been so good to me. But you couldn't have been able to tell me 7 years ago that this was going to be my reality. So I'm only saying that to encourage you. That one, it will get better. Things will get better. Like I said, I know when you're going through, that doesn't, it sounds good and you're like, oh, thank you, but it's not tangible. You know what I mean? My son's giving me the thumbs up. It's not tangible. But his word is. So stand on the word. If you don't know where to start, just start talking to him. He's listening. He's calling out to you. So start talking back. He's trying to get your attention. So you start talking back. Open your Bible. Start reading. I know you may not know how to begin with studying the word, and that's okay. He will teach you all of these things. Go to the back and just start looking up what it says about love. And then go to those scriptures and sit there and read them and just sit on them. Meditate on them. And wait to see what comes to your spirit. And write it down. Keep a notebook. I am an advocate for writing. I'm a writer. But I'm an advocate for writing. Write down your journey so you can document and see. So you can go back and see where God has brought you from. I mean, you won't forget it anyway. But you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then too, I did write a book because he told me to. And it took me 3 years to do it. Because it took me 3 years to do it because one, I was still living it out. And two, I was a little scared. It's disobedience. Because I didn't move as quickly as I probably should have. But let me tell you, when he got serious with me, when he was done playing with me, because you know God is like, Yahuah is long suffering. He is. He's truly long suffering. But let me tell you, baby, he will let you know when he's starting, when you're running short of that grace, when he's not playing with you anymore. At least that's my experience with him. And I really want you guys to get into a walk and a journey with the Most High because it's so refreshing. It's such an awesome relationship. And it is truly an honor to be able to get to know him and to experience him. Like I said, it's nothing like knowing the Most High for yourself. It's nothing like having a relationship with the Most High for yourself. Anywho, I wrote a book. It's called The Assembly Line, Called Out of Darkness. I'm sorry, that was gross. It's called The Assembly Line, Called Out of Darkness. The book is about, in the book, I'm just really giving you very practical steps and ways to draw close to God, to develop your relationship with the Most High when you are going through a trying time in your life, when you are hurting, when you are in that place of darkness, when you've experienced trauma, whatever it is that has you in that space. That is the time, like never before, that you need to be drawing closer and closer and closer to the Most High, leaning on him. Lean on him, cling to him as if your life depended on it. And I promise you, he will make himself known to you. He will make your purpose known to you. He will walk you through. Just cling to him. And in the book, I give you very, very practical steps on just how to do that. Because maybe you don't know, and that's fine. I also give you more details about my personal journey, what was going on every step of the way during these different phases, and, you know, all that good stuff. So I pray that this did encourage you, that it did encourage you, and that you be blessed from it. And I just really, again, just want you to know that the Most High is so faithful. He is faithful. There's nothing that he's saying to you or that he will not fulfill. He doesn't give promises and does not keep them. He's not a breaker of his promises. He doesn't break his word. He puts nothing above his word, so you can trust and believe that if it's written in that book, if he speaks a word to you, you can stand on it. You can stand on it and it will come to pass. It shall come to pass, and he's faithful to keep you every step of the way. You may not understand exactly what's going on at all times. That's okay. You don't have to. We're not called to understand all the time. We're called to trust him and to obey. Submit yourself to him. Cling to him and submit yourself to him. And no, you will not always be perfect. Let me say that because that's important. You will not. So don't be disillusioned. The word tells us that we have to walk out our salvation. So you may make the decision today. And on Saturday, you may mess up, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. As you continue to walk with the Most High, he does a work in us. Let me tell y'all how good the Most High is. We're clinging to him for life because we need him, his spirit, his peace, his love, his joy, his mercy, his compassion. We need him. But as we're doing that and we're submitting ourselves to him, he's so good that he starts to do a work in us. He starts to change us. He starts to work on our hearts. So he's developing us. That is the assembly line. It's an exchange. And then we're submitted to him to carry out his work, to carry out his will. He's so good. He's so faithful. But I could tell you this 1,000 times over and you still won't know and you still won't get it until you see for yourself. That's why the word says, taste and see that Yahuah is good. Just like if you're eating something. I love Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A, right? I got a salad waiting for me in the refrigerator right now. I could tell you all day long that Chick-fil-A is fine. You know what I'm saying? But until you taste it yourself, taste and see that Yahuah is good. He's good and he wants to show himself to you. He wants to prove himself to you. He wants to prove himself to you. He wants you to be able to trust him. He wants you to know your purpose. I said this in another video. It does him no good for you not to know your purpose. So you can trust and believe that what he says he's going to do, he's going to do it.